Okay, that says that I'm live, which means that I must be live. Hello, this is Hikosaemon. Trying to stay in the middle to keep it bright. How's it going? This is Tokyo Tonight. Good evening to everyone. I am just still sorting out things like comments and whatnot. Let me turn off the feedback thingy there. How are we all doing? Thank you for joining me again this week. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Very nice to have a Father's Day myself today, although it was kind of low-key. But what are you all up to? I'm just adjusting comments. Good to see a good crowd and 60 people, 26 thumbs up, that's pretty cool. 1 thumbs down, that's all good, I don't mind. Just gonna go cry quietly by myself later. Had a really interesting, unexpected 2.5 Oyajis this week with Chris Gann. It was good to get him on actually. He's a character and he was different to what I was expecting. I actually did drink that monster drink, and that was the first time I'd had one of those drinks in a long time, and it messed me up. It was pretty terrible. I guess just so that you remember who we are, this is the we, it's me. This is me, Tokyo Tonight. My new logo. I went and prettied up my channel yesterday. Tonight, actually, I'm tired at the moment. I prettied up my channel by putting this logo properly over all of my videos, which was pretty cool. Gives it a bit of a consistent look. How are you all doing? Do me a favour, I'm just going to go quickly tweet that I'm on to come and join. Tell other people to come, of course, more the merrier. That said, I guess I can only keep up with X number. Like last week we had like 450 comments and I couldn't keep up with all of them, but up to about 200 I'm pretty good. And I'm improving my planning all the time. I'm using a timer right in front of me here to stay on focus, which is all good. Which also reminds me, right, okay, so that is all cool. I'm just going to quickly, I'm live now, come join me and talk Japan news topics and stuff live. Boom. So let's send that out. So yeah, I picked out some topics from my Flipboard, from my RSS into my Twitter, which went into my Flipboard later. I selected it down. I had a tough week this week. Phoebe was having some sort of an extortion hack attack, DDoS attack, which resulted in it not being available for like 2.5 days, which is pretty tough for me. But yes, they're back. Glad to hear that that all happened. See who's in tonight. So of course, as usual, got Razel Gul getting in there early, saying hello to you. Gifted Drones 1981, Travius H, good to see you. Lemonstone, B-Boy Tripping, Classic Cat, Lacey, good question there. In fact, since I'm looking sideways, I might as well show everyone what I'm looking sideways to. Just looking through, saying hello to everyone. Austin Richardson, good to see you. December Clouds, Christopher Luke, Claude Speed 30, Charlie Brown AU, good to see you. By the way, I've got to sort out the prize information. I'll get that to Dave Powell so he can send those out, because of course you won a shirt. So congratulations on that from 2.5 Oyajis. Ahmed Zombie, good to see you. And yes, actually, we have to talk a bit about World Cup. I didn't even mention that in the topics, but yes, I watched that today. And of course we will come to that. Dan N, good to see you from Auckland. Good to see people still in Auckland. Evening from Australia, of course, Charlie Brown AU in Brisbane, where my family home is and where I'm going to at the end of the year. Saluki-san, good to see you. Kantensai, konbanyo, as always. Kevin Crocker in Japan. You sent me something on Facebook tonight, which I haven't read properly yet, but I will have a look at it. But yeah, Kevin Crocker, he makes good videos and he's trying to get some support for his video making stuff, which you should all do, so that is all worthwhile. And boom, I'm just going to stop this, stop that. Let's make that 4 minutes because I accidentally stopped it. Boom. Okay, so that's all. Quaurus, good to see you. Saluki-san, Kantensai again. Cinnamon China, good to see you. Sup Tess. Sup. Women Stone, I thought that was sheep for a minute. I got excited, whatever that was. My Argonauts Jason. Robert, 1967 Canada. Padawan Kim, good to see you from Matsue, if I recall correctly. You're out the same way as well, you were years and years ago, out the same way as my Argonauts, which is pretty cool. Michael Pickett, good to see you. Yeah, well, we take our good comfortable time being late. Sorry about that. Yes, left at the last minute. And yeah, so good crowd in tonight. Some good topics in there. I've got some good topics, so we'll go through. You can check out, of course, as you should all know by now, you can check out the topics that I've picked out by checking out the video information below. How's my lagging? How am I doing in terms of sound? Because I've done a few things. I've lowered the bitrate of the video and the sound, which I hope will have an impact of improving the latency. I think that's one of the reasons that I've been lagging. Is it better this week? Is it worse? Where did the comments go? It's all refreshing a little bit too late. And it might be because of the video. So you know what? Let me come up and pause that because I don't need to watch myself. And I'm going to refresh that again. Shows me what I don't want to see, which is my own video, and it doesn't show me what I want to see, which is your comments. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. But yes. Anyway, lots of interesting news topics and stuff this week, so that's always good. I'm going to put this away. You can see there's some of my new cool thumbnails. Some of them are new. I've just kind of expanded this theme. The 2.5 Oyajis thumbnail, I think we are going to replace and put something more permanent on. When we get the winner, so the winner of the thumbnail contest, which I've been posting, I've still got updated actually. I got a new one, I think, from Alex Stratus the other day. Please, if you've got them, send them and tweet them, Facebook, email, do whatever you like. Get them to me. There's a public Facebook thumbnail album, which I've actually got linked to my Flipboard. I'll put the link directly under this video. Actually, it's under the last 2 videos that we had, so you can go and check out yourself. What would you like to see as the permanent 2.5 Oyajis thumbnail? Because there are some pretty cool ones out there. Indeed, you can also, of course, check on the link directly below the video, my thumbnail of all the best reading going on. And oh yeah, so the sound is good and clearer than usual. Okay, well that's good. The sound and picture look good. If they're in sync, that is good. So you know what? And no lag. So I think what I did was I took down the video from 2 megabits per second to 1. You don't need to, especially for live streaming. And I took down the sound as well from 128 kps to 32, which again is all you need. It's still better than MP3. I don't know why it needs to be set so high. So I've kind of adjusted those things, and maybe that's why it's all going good. Lacey, apparently Father's Day is September in New Zealand. They're all different in Japan, and it confuses me too. I don't know when people are having their Father's Days and Mother's Days and whatnot. But anyway, over this side, boom, got some great topics to talk about tonight. Which will be on here, but we'll get to that all in good time. For now, I am going to, I guess, I'll start out with a nice clean screen. Oh, get that off, boom, and I will queue up the video, and I'm going to do the English 5-minute news in about 10 seconds. I'm going to do it within 5 minutes, and then I'm going to do a pause, and then a Japanese one, and then we'll get into it. Hey, Hikosaemon here. So welcome on this June 15th from Father's Day 2014. You are here in Tokyo tonight, although this is of course going to be Japan Hiko News. This is the recorded 5-minute version of all the news that I'm going to be covering tonight. And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff to check out. So let's go have a look and see what the top news stories of the week were that I found interesting. So boom. This is from the thumbnail contest that you can see going on the for 2.5 Oyajis. This is one of the great entries in that. This is available in my Facebook, which you can go and see a link to within this magazine and below this video, the video information for this, I think. So yeah, one thing, there's been some interesting developments on the Footloose, on the ban on dancing in Japan. And this is where there's been a news story here featured on the Japan Subculture Research Center run by Jake Edelstein about a recent case where apparently an owner of a nightclub arrested for allowing dancing after 1 a.m. Apparently, alcohol establishments that serve alcohol after 1 a.m. you're not allowed to permit dancing after 1 a.m., which is of course silly because that's one of the reasons I came to Japan. There is a law actually going through Parliament right now, which I think I've saved over here. Government has just passed a bill to ease curbs on all nightclub dancing, which is good news. This looks like going through. Apparently, they tried doing a law like this before, but the LDP opposed it because they still think that nightclubs are places that corrupt morals. And to that end, I think there's something I found which I wanted to share with everyone. So let me just load this up. But this is I think nobody could have said it better than, of course, our good friend Kevin Bacon. And this is it with dancing. This getting rid of this dance ban in Japan. From the oldest times, people danced for a number of reasons. They danced in prayer so that their crops would be plentiful, or so their hunt would be good. They danced to stay physically fit and to show their community spirit, and they danced to celebrate. And that is the dancing that we're talking about. Aren't we told in Psalm 149, praise ye Lord, and sing unto the Lord a new song. Let him praise his name in the dance. It was King David, who we read about in Samuel. And what did David do? What did David do? What did David do? David danced before the Lord with all his might, leaping and dancing before the Lord. It's actually, this wasn't a church now, I recall that part. Leaping, dancing. But this is the cool part, right? Okay, this is the cool part. Focus. The cool part is this. Ecclesiastes, who I'm sure was a great guy, you know, he's Jewish, he's Old Testament. Yes, Ecclesiastes assures us that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to laugh and a time to weep, a time to mourn, there is a time to dance. And there was a time for this law, but not anymore. See, this is our time to dance. It is our way of celebrating life. If that's the way it was in the beginning, it's the way it was in the beginning, it's the way it's always been, and it's the way it should be now. And, you know, it's like Kevin Bacon. They should have just called him here and we would have passed this law and we would have been able to dance, and the stupid law outlawing dancing in nightclubs would be gone. But isn't that a great monologue? Although I didn't deliver it very well, but there you go. Allowing dancing very soon, so that's an awesome thing. Interesting blog. There's been a lot of news going on these international suicide statistics, which of course Japan has a terrible reputation for, but there are these statistics have been going around a lot lately. There's a nice summary here on Rocket News, and this is them. First thing is that Japan isn't the suicide capital of the world, in spite of the image that Japan has. Number one, if it was a standalone country, would be Greenland, which, you know, there's hardly any people there, and apparently they have a crazy high rate of suicide there, like 3 times almost the second or third places, which are Lithuania, South Korea, Kazakhstan, Guyana, China. You know, and that's it. Japan's not doing well. Certainly ranked number 10. That's not where you want to be, but it's way below those countries. So it definitely isn't the number 1 most suicide prone place in the world. The capital isn't Tokyo either. It's Iwate, which is understandable. That's where they're still dealing with the aftermath of the terrible earthquake and tsunami there. And notice that Fukushima isn't there. Well, at least not in the top ranking prefectures, but Tokyo is number 25 out of 47. So yeah. There's a reputation known in Japan for suicide by train and so on, which apparently is actually quite rare, partly because the train companies charge the families for the loss of income when they stop the trains for that. And yeah, most people apparently, most people have this idea that they have suicide for, you know, shame or whatever, but no, it's for heartbreak, health reasons. Financial trouble is very common, and this is something where you get into the mob connections and debt in Japan. So, you know, it's not, suicide isn't the way that you necessarily understand it. Some great news today. The Abe administration, which has been remarkable. I mean, Abe was spoken Korean to the Korean president. You know, they've gone kind of pro-gay with his wife. They were on a big thing. They're pro-woman. And here we are, pro-Ainu. They're building an Ainu museum, which they want to have ready before the Olympics in East Hokkaido, where I've been to before, specifically for this reason. Yeah, the government's putting money into preserving and protecting Ainu culture. And, you know, Ainu as the indigenous, the pre-inhabitants of Japan, predating the, you know, it's not people aren't sure if they're actually connected to the Jomon and to the, you know, the prehistoric people in Japan. There's some debate over that, but there's no question that they were already in Japan when the current so-called Yamato Japanese came. And this idea that they just inhabit parts of Hokkaido as well. Some Japanese, by the way, do believe that they did come down from Russia, you know, like they were like Kuril people who came down. But no, they were certainly in all over Hokkaido before modern Japanese came in. Apparently Mount Fuji, by one explanation, is an Ainu name. It doesn't fit, Fuji doesn't fit the kanji that are used to describe the mountain. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and it's good to see them putting money into it and supporting indigenous people, which is a controversial topic, again, within the LDP in particular, because there are conservative groups that don't accept that there are other ethnic groups or that they're a legitimate indigenous group in Japan. They're very much like the Maori culture of New Zealand, very interesting. Sales tax, they're debating whether to increase the sales tax another 2% to 10%. They're going to decide that within the year. At the same time as they're debating lowering the corporate tax. So, you know, on the one hand, they're trying to increase tax take to look after the elderly and social welfare. On the other hand, they're trying to take lower corporate taxes, which makes these tax increases look like they're trying to have consumers fund a lowering of corporate tax, which doesn't make any sense. Another interesting one came up in the Mainichi. Apparently they're looking at, again, to facilitate the right, what they call the right type of immigration, you know, well-to-do foreigners. And in order to foster well-to-do and highly skilled foreigners to come to Japan, they're going to allow highly skilled foreigners to live indefinitely and to bring their family members, apparently extended family as well as their housekeepers and whatnot from overseas, and to sponsor them for visas. So, you know, apparently it's not clear what the criteria would be, but presumably if you're like a company president or something like that and you want to come to Japan, you'd be able to sponsor your elderly parents if you want to take care of them, and your foreign housekeeper, which I guess is very good for people, you know, for again, the whole aim of this is to encourage immigration from other parts of Asia and so on. Other interesting stuff, yeah, again, more discussion, again, more serious discussion about strategically trying to raise the number of foreigners coming into Japan, apparently within 20 years to 10,000 coming and settling in Japan every year. Great picture of the finance minister Aso there. Talking about, yeah, apparently he said that when he heard the Japanese have 880 trillion yen in cash in their homes, not in banks or being used, he said, isn't that ridiculous? But of course he's from the LDP, from the generation that actually penalized banks for allowing ATMs to run, or vending machines to run, it is ATMs, cash machines, to run after 5 p.m. or on weekends when people could take their money out because they were so determined to force Japanese into saving money and not spending. So yeah, the final thing I want to talk about, and I'm already over time, but this is cool. So this with this Oculus Rift, this VR set coming out, and of course, you know, it's very interesting seeing from the game news and so on all the information that's coming out around that, and all the kind of games and how it's going to have low latency and it's going to be super cool. But the thing which I find super cool, actually, which I hadn't considered, was this. There is this apparently. Bloomberg has designed a virtual trading terminal using Oculus, which is that basically instead of having like 8 physical screens, or in this case, I mean, I can see 15, they can have them virtually. And I was just thinking, yeah, if you could get really, really high resolution screens in front of your eyes, exactly why I've got 3 monitors in front of me right now, and this is where you start getting into the Tom Cruise movie, the future one, with the fingers and moving the screens around in virtual air and stuff like that. But yeah, why would you need monitors? You could have virtual monitors, and if you could have them in high enough resolution, you could actually have a whole wall of different monitors in front of you, and that would be cool. You just put on your Oculus Rifts and not need monitors, and I think that is awesome. So that's kind of something that's got my brain going a little bit this week, and I thought was awesome. This is way too long, but there's lots of stuff to talk about this week. So that is it. I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to do my Japanese version of this very soon, and then we'll get into the regular talk. So if you want to talk about this stuff with me, come join me every Sunday night, 11 p.m. live for 1 hour, and enjoy this, and I'll see you later. Peace. That went way too long, didn't it? And now I've got it all in Japanese. Well, I guess I didn't need the Kevin Bacon monologue, which I didn't do all that well anyway. But I'll come back and I'll do all this in Japanese, and I'll do it much quicker. Okay, so let me cue up the intro again. Am I still in sync? That's the first thing I want to check, because I've lowered the bit rates. I've done all the stuff with this, which would mean I should still be in sync. Is my sound in sync? Please tell me. How am I doing so far? Let me refresh the comments. Take a look. Minority Report, thank you, my Agnes. Minority Report, these things, I'm getting old, but that's right. I was just thinking Minority Report. And if you could have cameras like on the outside of them, you could actually show the actual room, or maybe you could even like pick up your hands, and without even needing to wear gloves, you could actually like type and move stuff around like Tom Cruise in that movie without even, needing gloves or something like that. You could just do it off cameras. And you could actually be looking around at your room, although it would be weird with the glasses on, but that would save you the cost of, and the expense and the power use of having to have monitors all over the place like I do. I mean, isn't that pretty cool? I think so. Okay, Japanese version. Am I not? I just want to check, is my sound lagging? Because I'm going to switch back to the USB if that's necessary. But if I'm still in sync, bada boom, I'm in sync. Okay, thank you, Nori in Japan. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that. So it looks like my little experiment with the settings may be working. In fact, if this works really well, I might experiment with going to 720p next time. But okay. So in that case, I'm going to go and queue up, and I'm ready in 10 seconds to do the Japanese version of this, which I'll do much faster because my throat's a bit sore. Boom. Boom. Boom.はい、こんばんは、Hikosaemonです。今週ちょっと、今週のニュース、今日は6月15日なんだけど、ここまでの1週間のニュースちょっとまとめたいと思っていて、いろいろ面白かったニュースがあったんだけど、特に注目した面白かったと思ったものをちょっと紹介したいと思って、これ詳しく話したい場合には、もう毎週日曜日夜11時からライブでこのチャンネルで話せる東京トナイトという番組でだけど、ここでは5分の月曜日でいつも投稿するリコードバージョンで日本語でちょっと紹介したいと思って、面白いと思う点があれば下でコメントで教えてください。はい、さて最初の面白かったと思ったニュースはやっぱり日本のその風俗規制による夜1時以降のダンス踊ることが禁止となっているそれ戦後からの法律なんだけど、全然変わらぬままで厳密に、もちろん適用が男子が警察は本当にいけないと思っているからじゃなくて、何かナイトクラブが迷惑をかけているとか近所迷惑になっているとか騒音がうるさすぎるとかって前には柄悪い人いっぱい喧嘩してるとか、もう違う言い訳で警察入ってくるけど、それでいつもそのクラブオーナーマネージャーを逮捕してその人がダンスしてるから捕まってるのがもう最近やっぱこれもうどんどん最近警察が使ってて、でもう裁判の判例でもこれがおかしいと認めてるし、その結果法律上でも最近変わってきたから国会の中で今その法律を緩和する法律が検討されてて、早めにそれになるといいと思います。もう一つなぜ日本に来たかというと、日本の大きな魅力の一つは、例えば東京のクラブを考えるとね、もうないけど昔のリクイドルームとかって僕は自分の妻だったし、イエローとかブルーとかブルーノートとかもうたくさんコンサートとかフジロックとかもだって夜の中で山の中でそういう朝までそういうコンサートがやったりして、もうそれ最高の踊るイベントがあるのに、そういうことは厳密法律違反っていうのもおかしいし、もう時代に合ってないから早くそれ緩和すると素晴らしいと思って、ここちょっとケビン・ベイケンのフットルースの中でも英語ではさっき言おうとしたんだけど全部日本語では言わないんだけど、でもやっぱりそれでもね、アメリカのちっちゃい町の古い法律規制によって踊っちゃダメとなっていることがこの時代に沿ってないじゃないかとかって、もうかっこいいスピーチしたところでさっき英語で読んでもまさにこの法律もそうじゃないかと面白かったと思ったんで、いやこれ緩和するといいと思います。もう一つ最近も特に海外で日本の話をするとみんなすごい自殺率がもう高いんじゃないのとかって話はよくなって、これ英語なんだけどやっぱ最近世界中での自殺率とかっていろいろあるけど、ある意味で、日本が世界一番高いんじゃないか、日本人でも持ってるんじゃないか。でもやっぱりこのグリーンランドとか韓国でもはるか日本超えてるし、中国でも日本超えてるしっていうのは自慢することじゃないけど、日本はまだ十分だけど、でもやっぱり日本が最悪だというイメージ合ってないかもしれないということは一つと、やっぱちょっと残念なところどこが一番多いのかというと、やっぱり多分震災の影響か一応岩手の方東北の方が一番多いそうですけどね、東京は25番であと良かったことに最近減ってるけど、でもやっぱりこれ外国人ちょっと勉強気になるかもしれないけど、海外ではそういうやっぱ武士道のイメージがあって、日本は恥ずかしいこととかそういうことですることは全然そうじゃなくて、やっぱり ね、金銭もうお金に困ってる人とかね、金とか健康の問題とか、そういうことが一番多いことで、やっぱねちょっと海外の日本の自殺率に対する偏見をちょっと壊すことができるかなと思ってる。一つ良かったニュースは安倍政権がオリンピックに向けて2020年までに先住民のアイヌ民族に対するどこだっけ、もう東北海道の方でどこだっけ白老村っていう町、白老町っていう町でもうアイヌ文化の博物館を作る予定で、これもまた安倍ってそういう極右のイメージでももうバッシングする人によってそういうイメージがあるんだけど、でもね同時にそういう例えば女性を推進してるし、韓国とも一応仲良くしようとしてるし、もう韓国大統領と会った時も韓国語でも話しかけたりして、こういうこともね先住民族も推進してるところもやっぱり、全然左翼的なところもあって、いやバランス、そんだけ余裕があるからバランス取れてね、誰も左翼って言わないからそういうことも言えると思うから、でもこれすごい良かったことと思う。自分でもアイヌ文化に興味があって、韓国にも少し観光したことあって話とかちょっと勉強してみたら、確かにニュージーランドの先住民族のマオリ族と非常に共通点が多いと思うし、面白いと思います。もちろんその先住民族であることさえ議論もまだ日本の中で場所によってあるんだけど、でもなんであれね、これは日本が誇るべきまた日本にしかないアイヌ文化というものは日本の宝物だと思うから、そういうふうに認めてこのような文化をやっぱりなくなる前にちゃんと保全すべきだと思うんで、これすごいいいことだと思います。あと今年さらに 10% まで消費税を上げることは検討しながら法人税を引き下げようと考えてて、でやっぱじゃあその消費税増税はそれを最初福祉のためだとすごい宣伝してたのに、法人税引き下げることが同時になったら消費税の増税がその法人税の引き下げのためだったんじゃないかとかって、これも財務省も反対してるかと思うんだけども、全然どうかなと思うんだよね。なんだよこれ、もうしかも全然給料も上がってないのに物の価値が上がってるのが、増税な消費税の増税はもうみんな貧乏になってるだけなのに、しかも法人税も下げるって、競争力上げるって分かるんだけど、でもそれはやっぱ給料とかにちょっとつながんないとみんな困ると思うんだよね。どうかな、日本の消費税確かに安いんだけどね、世界的に。自分のニュージーランドでも全然もう今 15% いってると思うんだよね。だから日本まだ安い方だよ本当は。だけどやっぱふさわしい環境なのかなっていうのがある。しかも上げる必要はあるのも認める。日本こんな借金してて上げていいと思うんだけど、でもじゃあその法人税は何なんだってかってなってくるんだよね。最近日本もねまた移民政策、外国人を僕みたいな人かな、一応スキルを持ってもう一定までの基準を超えてる外国人に対して2030年以内に20年以内に1年間1万人を入国受け入れることも検討してるし、あとさらにある一定基準の上に超えてる人は自分の家族だけじゃなくて自分の親とかの面倒を見るためとか、自分のお手伝いさん、海外からもうビザスポンサーもできるようになるとかって、つまり例えば海外の金持ちが同じような金持ち生活が日本でできるようにそれも促すためにいろいろ今検討しているようで、やっぱりもうとにかくね人口問題もあるし、日本最近安倍政権がまた外国人のいっぱい日本来ることで移民政策をすごい推進してるから面白いと思いますね。あと今日ちょっと面白かったと思った発言が財務大臣の麻生元総理大臣がなんだっけ、そういう家庭に眠るタンス預かり金がもう880兆円、ふざけた話じゃないかとかって話をしてるみたいけど、でも自分の今までずっとやってきた自民党世代にもみんな無理やり貯金させて、もう全然ATM でお金が引き取れないように銀行にもし ATM を24時間つけたらもう追加税金とかつけたりして、その同じ政権がそれもう当たり前の結果でもうみんなの家の中でそんな現金が溜まってることがで、それでもう今金いっぱい出して、そうやって家にある 金をゴミにしようとしてるけど、でも経済に回してほしいって今言ってるけど、今まで全然そうじゃなかったじゃんとかっては思うんだけどね。でも一応、はい、確かに日本にはたくさんの現金が家の中に眠っているのようです。まあ、それみんな知ってるんだけどね、特に老人。それをなんかびっくりすることだね。たまになんか老人の家になんか誰か空き巣に入って、たくさんの金なくなって。あと変な事件ね、例えばなんか数百万、なんか数千万円がなんかどこに突然に現金まきされてね。まあ最後はちょっと面白かったと思ったものは、もう今日また長くなったんだけど、最後のちょっと言いたかったのは、最近のバーチャルリアリティも、ソニーもオキュラスリフトという会社も今いろいろ開発してるんだけど、でこれも特にゲーム向けにもしてるんだけど、これ一つな、まあブルームバーグの紹介で、ここにあるからここに行こう。これとても面白いと思って、僕はあんまり考えてなかったけど、映画のマイノリティレポートまさにそのものですね。やっぱこのたくさんのモニターを周りにするんじゃなくて、バーチャルリアリティのメガネをかけて、そこにでかい画面が見えるようにで、複数の画面とかって、僕の仕事ではたくさんなんか、例えば資料比較したりする仕事をやってるし、それでいつも画面がもっともっと欲しいとか、もっともっと紙のようにものを同時に見れるようにしたいけど、これまさにその技術で、モニター必要としないから、消費電力の目で環境の目でもなんかいいし、これとても面白いと思うんだよね。もうテレビなんかもう例えばこのイメージとしては15画面が同時、もう20画面じゃないか、同時に見れるもので、確かにそう本当にこういう本物モニターじゃなくてバーチャルモニターで、これまあやっぱ解像度高くできれば、これも本当になんかでかい画面も家の中でいらない、しかもどこでもできるね。そのモニターあるところじゃなくてリビングでもどこでもとても面白いと思ったんで、これちょっと見てワクワクしたって、ぜひこの方向に技術が進歩してほしいということが、今日もまた長くなりましたけど、面白かったでしょうか。面白かったところだったら下でコメントを入れて、でそういう興味があったところがあったら、毎週もぜひ日曜日の夜11時一緒にジョインして話しましょう。僕は今そのライブ番組に戻るんで、そこでぜひみんなでまた会いましょう。はい、ピース。そしてなんかまだ日本語モードにいるから、ダンスできるようにした方がいいね、観点祭。これちょっとボン消しますけど、はい、その通り、観点祭さん。もう僕は基本的に日本踊りに来たしね、最初行った横浜アリーナで電気グループのコンサートとか、もうね、アゲハでなんか見たイベントとか、ウームでのドラム&ベースイベントとかもう毎週行ってて、そのことなんか法律違反とかって、しかもなんかね、日本っておかしいんだよね。全然いらない法律がそうやってなんかで不適切に適用していることもあったりして、あと全然なんか例えばギャンブルが法律違反はずなのに、どこでもパチンコだらけになってて、全然実施してない法律もたくさんあって、ダンスのなんか違法とする法律はなんかおかしいんですよね。シナモンチャイナ、そう、あれは仲良くとは言いません。仲良く、それはちょっと何なのかよくわからないけど、何について。でも外交は今のところうまくやってるね。評価していいと思う。これ安倍政権の方ね。韓国と仲良くしようとしてると思った。一応なんか韓国は全然頑張ってないけど、安倍政権頑張ってるとは思うけどね。一応頑張ってる。Renton saying as well, actually, that the dance floor, indeed, the post 11, I think it's actually from post 1 a.m., but that's right. I mean, that's when Shinjuku, Shibuya, Roppongi, that's when they do all their business, but that's exactly what the police are trying to shut down. So yeah, some interesting stuff. I'm going to switch to the comments now and go to what you guys have been talking about. So I'm going to update, and I'm going to scan through, and I'm going to try to do the comments as quickly as possible. So boom, let's go through and have a look and see what we're all up to, everyone. And okay, so it looks like we've missed some of the first comments, so let me come back. This is the problem. If we go to the very first ones, they all go out of sequence. So I'm going to come back. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do boom, boom. I'm going to take this. I'm going to put these comments. I'm going to put the full comments over here, so that I can see the newest ones. Yes, 観点祭日本語モードでもできますよ。 So let me go back to the very first few comments until we get to Shoto Bodega, sup, and then I will come back and catch up. So the first few ones, gifted dones, that's right, so come back and watch it later on. Trubius H was asking if there are any festivals around Tokyo in July. Indeed there are. I can't tell you the dates, but all the fireworks festivals, all of those summer festivals, they all happen in July, so come to Tokyo around then, because, you know, every little town area has a different, has their own festival going on every week almost throughout July and August, so that is pretty good. Lacey has a question. Is poverty an issue at all in Japan? Do you ever see it? That's a good question. It is an issue. It exists. It exists. There are certainly there is a ghetto in Tokyo. There's in the Shitamachi area. There, Adachi Ward, Taito Ward. There are wards where you can go there and you can see it. One thing that's interesting is that homelessness used to be a lot more visible in the parks. For example, in Shinjuku and so on. It's partly because of policing that they've really been kind of pushed out, but at the same time Japan's always been very tolerant to that at the same time, relatively speaking. The big issue lately has been this issue about working poor. It's people who, even though they work, they don't have enough money, for example, that they could, if you're working on a contract and you're suddenly let go, and this has actually happened a lot lately, people would not have enough money saved. They don't work to earn enough money to save enough money to be able to, for example, change apartments, which is a big down investment in Japan, or things like that. So people who are like earning money but not being able to save or not being able to have an independent sort of a life is a big issue, you know. So definitely, you know, and the whole thing about I was reading something the other day in Japanese about how people who are most affected by things like working to death are people on the lowest incomes. It's the people who are earning, like, for example, less than $1,500 a month. So what's that? Like people earning less than $40,000, $30,000 a year, you know, part-timers, stuff like that, are the ones doing the most overtime and working themselves to death. So yeah, it's a big issue, and it's kind of, it's not highly visible like it is if you go to a place like San Francisco or New York or parts of Europe. It's not as, you know, as confronted with it in the street, but it's definitely there, and it's definitely a big topic in society. Yes, that's right. 3 hours left. Digin Tsukoto. Sorry about that. Yes, Austin Richardson, we are lucky in New Zealand that we have an agreement with Japan. That just means we have to translate our driver's licenses and we don't need to do a test. So I hope you do well in your driver's test in Kagoshima. Christopher Luke asked a question. What happens to Japan if they don't pay back their debt? Who would come looking for their cash? Well, the answer to that is Japan. Japan owes most of the money to itself. It's mostly privately lent within Japan, and that's one of the reasons I think it won't collapse. But maybe. I don't know. I do not know. Claude Speed, you got a thing. How would you say the Japanese would perceive someone flying their flag at home? You don't typically see. It's not I don't know if it's just a regular Hinomaru. It might be seen as a little bit right-wingish. If you had a black van out in front, that might affect that more, but I don't know that necessarily it would paint you as being a right wing having a flag, although it is pretty unusual. What you do see is what I thought at first were Romanian flags, but they are Buddhist SGI flags, which some members fly from their houses or from their businesses. If they are members of this religion, they advertise that fact. It's interesting. Japanese are not very in your face about religion, but there are a few evangelical Buddhist sects, and that's one of them, and that's why they display that more. So more than nationalism, you see things like that. But yeah, that's a good question. Certainly if you had a wartime flag, that would be perceived as ultra right wing or something along those lines. But Hinomaru, yeah, well, it's just not usual. I don't think I've seen many houses with flags flying off them, so it might be. The controversy that you mentioned about surrounding the Kimigayo, the anthem, I think it's overblown. It's definitely, Kimigayo is not liked by the Communist Party, and it's not liked by the teachers' unions that are backed by the Communist Party, and a lot of particularly far-left media made a big deal of the confrontations between school boards that wanted their schools to sing the anthem and the teachers who would refuse to stand up or sing it or play the piano for it. And yeah, it's controversial in that respect, but you know, really, I don't think it's controversial for most people, like the soccer and stuff like that. No one makes a big deal of it. The Hinomaru, you know, on the jerseys and whatnot. It's really, you know, if you look at the polls, if you're ideologically really against the flag and the anthem, you would vote for parties, probably the Socialist Party or the Communist Party. You know, that's your political ideology. and they don't poll 3 or 4% in most opinion polls. So, you know, you're talking about a defined group, a very active group, but they're also very small, maybe 1 in 20, 1 in 25 Japanese. Not to say that that means that they're irrelevant or anything like that, but you know, they are important. I've homestayed with the communist family and had very interesting conversations with them about that stuff. But you know, I think the controversy is a little bit overblown by the foreign media. Jolando is asking a question. Thoughts on? By the way, I'll try to flash this over here. This window is not very good because it updates all the time, and it's not where the other window is. But Jolando asking a question. Thoughts on raising a child bilingual when you yourself are conversationally fluent? How are you going with your son at the moment? Do you only speak English? With him, if so, is that difficult? Yeah, I don't really speak English with him. I guess that's the problem. I'm trying to speak it more and I'm trying to keep it going, but that's the thing, I suppose, when you are fluent. And again, if you think about it, if you're an immigrant to Australia and you're from India and you speak fluent English and you're married to an Australian, you probably speak English to your kid. And you know, you'd want your kids to speak Hindi, just like I want my kids to speak English. But you know, truth is, it kind of comes a little bit second or third in priority, and that's how it is. That said, I'm working on it, you know, and I'm starting to feel like I've gotten a bit behind the ball on that. So yes, I'm working on that. But you know, you're right, it is hard. Yes, Ahmed was asking about the soccer, and by the way, just because I'm going to come back when I get up to Shota Bodega, I'm going to switch over to here. But until then, I'm going to go back onto this because I'm not showing his comments right now. So Ahmed is asking what I think about today's game. I think Japan managed to play rather well compared to the size of their opposition. That's an interesting thing. Japanese commentators are always talking about, oh, they're very big, the opposition. But you know, you think about the countries that have won the World Cup. Like, there are only 4 countries that really ever win it. They're Argentina, Brazil, Italy, and Germany. Now, Germans are kind of tall, true. Brazilians are not that tall. In fact, Latin, you know, and Argentinians are really barely any difference in average height from, as are Italians, any different in average height from Japanese. You think about Diego Maradona, Pele, some of the best players in history are not tall people. So, you know, Japan always likes to make this big deal that, oh, look, we're so small and they're so tall and everything like that. But it's BS, frankly. You know, I mean, the size thing. And granted, the Cote d'Ivoire guys, they're big. They're big and they're fast. And they've got some awesome Touré and Drogba, of course, awesome players. But it's no excuse. And, you know, I don't like... I come from a small country. We're this country in the world of rugby. And we're not used to, because of that, we don't make excuses for anything when we lose. And I guess that's just part of, you know, we have this expectation of winning all the time, and that's a culture which I was brought up in. And I get a little bit annoyed when I come to Japan and I see this kind of self-pity, kind of making themselves, talking up how diminutive and how weak they are. I think that creates that mentality that it excuses it when it shouldn't be like that. So, yeah, you know, I thought Japan played well. I don't think they played up to their potential. They could have played better. Ivory Coast wiped the floor with them. They deserved to win. And Japan didn't play to their potential, and the height doesn't have anything to do with it. And I think Japanese themselves, the TV commentators, make that too much of an excuse, if you ask me. Danen asking me, from Auckland, good to see you, man. Just wondering if there are any popular foreign TV personalities still active. Sane Camu, Bobby Oligan, they were popular, but now they're gone. Yeah, and I don't watch that much TV anymore. I mean, the TV here, frankly, I mean, I used to really love it and watch it a lot, but it's kind of crap. And frankly, it was crap before, but I just watch less of it now, so I don't know. I'm sure there are foreign personalities. There are a lot of half personalities now. But, yeah, I don't know. I should know, and I don't, so I'm very sorry about that. Sorry to hear that it's cold in Australia, Charlie. Sorry about that. Saluki-san, you decided you're not going to Japan because you don't want to shave your facial hair and because rice is most expensive there. Well, that's interesting. You don't have to shave your facial hair. Plenty of people go around with facial hair. I experienced problems with it when I was working in Japanese companies and I suddenly grew it, and people were a bit shocked by that. But I know Japanese people, like lawyers, accountants, professionals who always have beards, and I don't know, there's no, that's a silly reason not to come. Even the rice, yeah, it's expensive, but everything's expensive, and rice kind of evens out here, so I don't know. I think that's a shame, but that's up to you. Kantensa, yeah, the handshake event. So now the latest brainwave for Makimoto. So somebody brought a bag with a fold-up saw in it, which he used to attack and members of AKB48. So they banned those handshake events, and now they're going to bring them back. But the solution is that they're not going to allow baggage, but they will hold people's bags for an extra 1,000 yen charge. So they're still going to make extra money out of it, which is he's a genius, isn't he? Akimoto, founder of those AKB48. I mean, that's all just a bit silly. And bada boom, and I think we're going to skip ahead to these typical New Zealander always late. Yes, I am. And sup, shut up, Bodega. So we can come back to the comments that are shown on the screen now, and I'm going to rock through them. Boom. So what's up, shut up, Bodega? I'm a bit croaky tonight. I'm going to have a drink. Alright, let's rock these out. Hello from Poland. First time watching live. Good on you, Big Lobby. Good to have you along. Quacker in Japan. Thank you for letting me know that I'm synced. It's always good to know. Claude Speed, it was funny that you saw me typing the tweet and then you got a notification for it a few seconds later. That's kind of cool. Darth Maggie, good, nice, from Finland. Same linguistic group as the Japanese, I believe. That's pretty cool. Actually, I know some people in Finland. I used to have a co-worker who dated a guy from, ended up being married to a guy from the embassy and now lives there, so that's kind of cool. Freebie shirt, that's right, Charlie Brown AU, very good. Konbanwa, Ramsuk Gaijin, good to see you. We've got some questions. Hey, Alex Lulls on Twitter, good to see you. That's right. Hope you're well. It makes a difference to see me live from Switzerland. Awesome. Hope you're enjoying the cheese in the yodeling. No, very disappointing, I have to say, as well. Like on the whaling stuff, and maybe this is I thought about including the news story that Abe's announced that they're going to go back to commercial whaling. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I thought that the international case gave the Abe administration a way out of an issue which is just creating nothing but grief for Japan. And this is the thing. I'm not against whaling actually per se. So long as they're not endangered, I think it's fine. But I think it's, in the end of the day, you weigh it up. It's not in Japan's interest to keep doing it. And yeah, trying. So, you know, and it's in that respect, I thought, you know, here's a way that Japan can kind of be seen as being a good international player at a time when it's making a big deal out of it here into international law because China's not doing it. And no, they still want to, and it's not a problem of international law, of course. I think this is a point. They are kind of entitled, but they want to keep up this argument. But yeah, it is what it is anyway. So indeed, very good to see you, Alex Lulls, and hello, Switzerland. Well, good luck with the World Cup, by the way, of course. Congratulations on making that, if you worry about that. Kevin Crocker asking, is this a GH3? This is indeed the most awesome, although there is now a GH4, of course, but this is, at least at the time that it was released, the best consumer camera movie video recorder out there. It's awesome, and I'm trying to use it in an awesome captured way. What else we got here? Yes, of course, the World Cup with Australia. Apparently hilarious because group of Spain, Holland, Chile, and you've just lost the easiest match. Well, yep, it's not going to... Although Spain look like they might be easy. But, you know, try being from Japan, honestly. I mean, it doesn't get any better. Very good to see that the sound is good, and everyone, thank you for giving me all the good feedback on that. Oh, thank you for the Father's Day updates, by the way. Very good to have a Father's Day here in Japan with my cool little lad. 10 minutes to go, so let's go through. Hope I'm going to cover the potential changes for permanent residency that are going through the legislature. And indeed, well, the ones that I'm aware of, like I say, that I just talked about, the ones about one, trying to encourage the number of permanent residents to increase to 10,000 per year, and the other one, of course, to look at indeed allowing people to sponsor maids and stuff like that, extended family members, which again is going to make it a lot easier for, well, frankly, I mean, I'm hoping if I can fall into a category like that, not so much the maids, but, you know, extended family and stuff like that, it'd be nice to be able to bring, if I ever had to, if my mother got sick, it'd be nice to be able to stay in Japan and not have to leave if it came to that. So I should actually look up if there's more details on that and look up what they are. So thank you for the heads up on that, Bradley Ford. Konbanwa, everyone. So Peter Subarashi. Moving performance. I did my best, but yes, that's right. I couldn't. I wasn't. I learned tonight that I'm not cut out to do Kevin Bacon. Only Kevin Bacon can do Kevin Bacon. Indeed, not as suicidal as we thought, and that's right. There are some stuff there on the Ainu stuff. There is the OC Rift tracking is showing interest as well, tracking IR. So that's right, the different types of VR platforms, and I don't care so long as they're really high res. I mean, for me, it's not so much for the games anymore. Actually, it's about the the potential. Actually, the idea of being able to replace the room that I'm in at the moment and not have this. I mean, my workstation is awesome, but yes, right. If I might not need that, I think that's really cool. The dancing stuff is BS, Nihongo mode, and now I'm going to refresh the comments because I seem to have caught up, and let's see, I think I might actually get on top of everything tonight. Let's see how far behind I still am. And boom, Yoko wakarimasu, boku mo, so that's right, we go into the contents. I was enjoying my Nihongo mode, and Jolando, indeed, he got back into his Eigo and Nihongo modes. And when I first was in Japan and when I was getting used to studying Japanese, switching back and forth I found very hard, although I do it every day now, so it's become more or less natural. Russ-san asked you a very good question. Why does all comments get rid of the video? Indeed. And yeah, these comments are still a bit of a mess, and next time I talk with YouTube people, I'm going to have words about this type of subject, because I wish this was easier to do. I mean, this is a great way to keep up and show you guys what I'm seeing. But yes, and 1884 is asking, was I riding my bike around Shinjuku last week? Last week? I don't think I was I mean, I do sometimes ride my bike around Shinjuku, but I don't think I was doing it last week. Maybe a few weeks ago I was doing it. You might have seen someone who looks like me, I don't know. Someone, especially aerodynamic head shape it could have been. But yes, I've been known to ride my bicycle around Shinjuku. Not that recently though. Indeed, yeah, Charlie Brown saw some hopeless people. I think probably homeless was what was intended by that, but who knows. Peter Subashi was asking me, if you see a flag hanging from the house, they might make you think Yakuza. Wonder if that's true. That's a good question. There is an association between Yakuza and right-wing groups. They are kind of interchangeable on some level, and there are renter crowds. Sometimes people will pay right-wing groups who are actually mobsters to go and be annoying in places like it used to happen during election campaigns and stuff like that. The great irony of that is that many of the gangster groups that are also right-wingers for hire are actually from North Korean-based gangs. They're actually Koreans who dress up and act as right-wingers. Whether they're genuinely right-wingers or what, I don't get it, but it's well known that among the many different types and factions of right-wing groups are paid right-wing groups that are actually made up of ethnic Koreans. So go figure, but indeed, so I think hanging the flag is a little bit, well, it's not normal, I suppose, but I don't know that there's any, it would instantly trigger that reaction. It kind of depends. I think during the World Cup it might be perhaps a little bit normal, but it's not like Australia or America where people would hoist the flag in the backyard or whatever. It is a little bit different. Canada Gene 3. Saw homeless people, but they're never begging. Saw a homeless man who was reading a book. I've seen begging homeless people, unfortunately, in Tokyo. I know I've been begged too. They are looked after. People, for example, a lot of convenience store owners, they're not supposed to, but they'll give them the just recently expired bentos for food, and this was all kind of, there used to be a lot more TV specials and magazine specials about it 15 years ago when I first came to Japan, and they were a lot more visible. If you go around Asakusa Sensoji, I've seen begging, like coming up to tourists and asking for money, specifically asking for beer once in my case, which he obviously didn't need when he was asking for it. That's really if you do go into the ghetto suburbs, and unfortunately Japan does have them. They're not that bad as ghettos go, but they exist. So yeah, homeless people exist, but I'm very Canadian. You're very lucky if you haven't seen them begging. That's good. It certainly again isn't anything like what you'd see in the US or Canada, but yeah. Cinnamon China, Asians were forced to worship Hinomaru and sing Kimi ga yo. Well, it was the Japanese flag and the Japanese anthem. Happened in parts of Asia a long time ago, but that's pretty much, that's all done with now, and now it's a normal thing. Nobody worships the Hinomaru anymore. Mr. Life You, owe you a shirt, so we'll be in touch with you about getting you in touch with Tokyo about that. Have a good night to you, sir. We're about to wrap up in 2 or 3 minutes here. Christopher Luke, you go to Dayaku. Oh, so out in Hachioji, I've played rugby here as well. And indeed, they are the evangelical Christian equivalent of Buddhism. So, as you know, and this is exactly what I was talking about. And that's why if you go up there, I used to think. So I actually have my grandfather came out of Europe, out of Romania. One of my grandfathers, and in the World Cup, because New Zealand never used to qualify, so I just randomly support countries that I had any kind of link to whatsoever. And I remember there was a time when Romania did very well, and I was always kind of supporting Romania just for fun. And yes, I came to Hachioji, and there's Romanian flags everywhere, and it turns out they're from these evangelical Buddhists, and the people around me were telling me, don't do that. Don't cheer for the Romanian flag, because it doesn't mean that here. And yeah, it's basically like if you could imagine driving around your Japanese homestay, and they're waving out the window, cheering whenever they saw like evangelical bumper stickers or something like that. That's probably what I look like. Yeah, okay. Saluki-san, indeed, Japan does have one of the highest literacy rates in the world. In fact, Koizumi boasted that even our homeless people read the newspapers. And not many world leaders boast about their homeless people, about the quality of their homeless people. But Koizumi saw fit to do that. Yeah. So stars and sea, indeed. I mean, it happens. Average people don't play world-class sport. That's also very true. That's right. Countries are only supposed to pull out their shortest players. I don't know where that goes. Ahmed Zombia, alright, Europeans aren't that big, but man, the Ivory Coast, yes, that's right, the Ivory Coast guys are huge, It's kind of funny, actually, Spanish people and Italian people, really, the height, there's no height difference with Japan. But yes, those big Ivorians are those are big guys, but it doesn't really make a difference, the outcome. I mean, they would get their asses kicked if they were playing against Argentina or Italy, unfortunately. So height isn't always an advantage. And indeed, Michael Peck, exactly what you're saying. Give Japan a bit of time. They do have the potential. They're not quite there, but they do keep growing. And there is I mean, in the metaphorical sense, of course, they do keep growing. They don't need to actually get bigger. They can still be good as the height that they are. But they do keep getting better, and I think that they will be a very good team without that long. And Kevin Crocker, that's right, no one cares about facial hair. Not really. Well, I've run into people that do, but it's not a reason not to come here. And indeed, technique can always overcome physical differences, especially in a sport like soccer, and I'm calling it soccer because I'm from New Zealand, and because of the original association football. Rugby was actually football before soccer was football. Historical fact. It's just that football became bigger, that's all. So they kind of overtook the name. And I grew up. By democratic means, that should be the name, but the original name of football was owned by rugby. Well, I'm from New Zealand, so I have to say that. Give me a break, man. Beautiful camera quality. Of course, it's only because I'm the one coming up on it. But yes, thank you for recognizing the beauty that's on the screen right now. Kevin Woodward, been in Japan a week, and this is your first time watching me live. Like my shows. Oh, awesome. Oh, very good. Please come and enjoy it every Sunday night, 11 p.m. And that's a good note to wrap up on. And yes, George Kinney, you're searching my channel regarding rugby. I've got a couple of videos on rugby. In fact, I've got one I've never posted, which I really want to put up if I can find a good excuse for it sometime. But yes, I've done a few ones about that. So yeah, I can give you some more information about it, but I'm out of time for it tonight. So come back next week and ask me about rugby early, and I'll get to it early. And indeed, Kevin Crocker, the GH cameras are awesome, and they are just totally sweet. So I am now, it's exactly midnight. And boom, if you liked it, thumbs up and all that good stuff. On the next 2.5 Oyajis, we will get back in touch with those people about their shoot Tokyo prizes. Also, look out for information about the thumbnail contest, and you can still send in thumbnails. We're just going to judge the one we like best. It won't be a vote or anything like that, and we've seen some really cool entries, but you can still come and add them, you can still get in, so please do that. And yes, indeed, so that is about it. Oh, and there is some Google Abe Jiminto Sosai to, I thought it was Chinese for a minute, but there's a hiragana, Sosai to Kaiketsu Nakamatachi. That's what we're talking about, Nakayoku. Well, this is the thing. I don't think Jiminto's quite the devil that it's made out to be. This is the point I keep making over and over. But they're too easy to bash. I'm trying to challenge people to think a bit more. That's really what that's about. It's not that I'm a huge fan of them. Alex Lulls, indeed, meet-up in the fall or Christmas. There will be a meet-up in September, and Victor keeps hassling me to get onto that, which I need to do, book a place in September. We always like to do 6 months. There's March Hanami and the September summer party, which we'll probably book a bar in Roppongi again. We may even dance after 1 a.m. if it's legal this time. That will be awesome. Maybe my Kevin Bacon monologue will carry through and the law will change. Who knows? That's been me tonight. It's been a busy hour. I've been talking very fast, but we got through it. I got through most of the comments, so that's a good thing. And I'm going to sign out, so good night. Check you on 2.5 Oyajis on Victor's channel this week, and catch you soon. Peace. And since you guys always seem to like watching me, check out, can I do it first time this time? Stop streaming. That's it. Will it work, or has it signed me out? Here we go.